the elections. Totally nothing happening. There is no evidence whatsoever that cheating occurred during the elections. Right? Because that's what everybody tells us. Everybody's saying, no cheating occurred, nothing to see here. That's all we hear. That's all we hear from the news media. But now we're hearing it from courts, and more importantly, our wonderful William Barr, whose title I'm now Attorney General. There we go. The Attorney General, William Barr, Bill Barr. Nothing to see here. No cheating whatsoever. Okay, I got an issue with that. I got a big issue with that because up until this election, anytime, and that's one of the things is, originally when I heard about this, it was, no cheating happened. And then it was, well, yeah, there was voter fraud, there was this illegal thing or that illegal thing, but it's not widespread. And then it became, well, it's widespread in the fact that it happened across multiple states, but it's not widespread that it changed the election. You just keep changing it over and over and over again when there's more evidence being thrown in saying, no, there's some shady shenanigans going on here. All right? Here's my biggest issue with all this, is there are allegations of cheating. Allegations, okay? Whether or not it's been proven is a whole other story. We'll get there later. But there's allegations of cheating in the highest race, the most important thing in our government. I'm going to break it down in a very simple way to explain this. I am a gamer. I can explain this very easily, very simply. If I'm playing a video game and I use some kind of cheat, we'll go with my favorite, which is referred to as the aimbot, which means that you have the computer aiming for you, so you pull off all these perfect shots all the time. As soon as somebody accuses you on a server of using an aimbot, I should say, and this is important, very important to remember this caveat, but on a well-maintained server, on a well-administered server, if you say so-and-so is hacking, so-and-so is cheating, so-and-so is using an aimbot, well, one of the things that normally happens is a admin knows how to go in, tappy-tappy-tap, and spectate you. Now, some of the things out there, there's these things out there, programs that are basically anti-cheat software. They know a lot of the things to look for to spot software. Either they can detect what software is currently running on your computer, currently using the game, or they detect certain aspects. For one, I know there was one cheat software out there that would tabulate if your kill-to-death ratio was too high compared to everybody else's. I mean, if you're like 50 kills and 1 death, and you were running around doing what everybody else was doing, it'd be able to go, okay, there's no way that guy's not cheating. And it would do something. We'll get to this do something here in a minute. So they go in there and they'd spectate. They'd check to see what was going on. Was this guy actually using aimbot? Now, some people, they're just, claim of aimbot, kicked. Somebody claimed you were doing, regardless if you were. A lot of times I had those claims come in for some of the servers I'd be on, not necessarily against me, but they come into the gaming lobbies and say, so-and-so is hacking, so-and-so is cheating, and we go look at the scoreboard, and there's like, where's the evidence of that? I mean, their kill-to-death ratios is basically 1, 2 to 1, somewhere in there, 1 point whatever. I'm not going to do the math. Let's say they got 20 kills and 15 deaths. Okay, that's not really, that's a terrible cheat if that's what you're doing. Or sometimes we even see that where so-and-so is using an aimbot and it'd be like a negative KD in the sense that he would have 15 deaths and only 2 kills or something like that. It's like, seriously, that guy's cheating? Whatever, get out of here. They're just saying it because they're hurt over the fact that they got killed once. But anyhow, well-moderated, well-maintained server, somebody's going to go in there, they're going to check. They're going to check the allegations, and if they find enough evidence, whether it be they are seeing the programs being run, and this is all done completely legally, all right? They're not actually jumping on the computer, they're not invading anybody's privacy, they're just seeing what's coming onto the server. Like I said, a lot of times what they do is they just spectate, they just watch what the guy is doing. The server gives them that ability everybody knows that this can occur. They'll spectate the person, and they'll see what they do, and if they do certain things that is well known for particular things, for instance, aimbots, or if they see that it's well known, like for instance, the guy will just scope, and even though he's not aiming at anybody, it'll automatically flip him around, do a 180, and kill somebody. Okay, that's an aimbot right there. Or if somebody sights down and shoots, and they're firing into a hill, and it kills the guy on the other side of the hill, okay, that's aimbot. All right, there's cheating going on here. Now, what happens when they see that? Do they just ignore it? Do they say, "Yep, the guy was cheating. Got totally cheating"? No, they don't do that. I mean, they probably put in there, blah, 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 so-and-so is cheating, and they kick him from the server. Boop. Bye-bye. You don't get to play no more. When evidence is collected that somebody is cheating in a video game, a competition that means diddly in the world, and I'm not talking like these big championships, the esports nonsense. I love video games. It's not a sport. Another topic, another day. But when somebody is caught cheating on anything that's well maintained, they are booted faster than you can say Snapple. It's no tolerance whatsoever. You don't want to play the game right? Fine. Get out of my server. And that's an important thing to remember. Like I said, well maintained, well moderated, people who actually give a flying hoot about what's going on, which is what didn't happen during this thing. With their election stuff going on, what did we have? We had a lot of people not playing by the rules, but on top of that, not allowing people to moderate correctly. Right? For instance, one of the big ones that's out there, a lot of people are just going down on these people, is the fact that the counting stopped. They kicked all the people out who were supposed to be observing the count, and then continued counting again with the observers not in the room. Okay, they're the ones that are supposed to be moderating. You shut down moderators doing their job. That's ridiculous. And video games are not the only place where something drastic happens because you cheated. I'm going to roll back the tape here a little bit, rewind time into what we like to refer to as the Wild Wild West. It's a known thing that in the Wild Wild West, if you were caught cheating, you got shot. If you're in the movie Maverick, you get thrown off a boat and they say, "Hey, hope you can swim." But it was pretty dramatic. What happened? If you were caught cheating in a card game or something, you were in serious trouble. There was a pretty good chance you were going to get shot. And the law probably would just look the other way. Maybe, depending on who you are, of course. But people take that stuff very seriously, or they did. But like I said, the whole well-moderated piece comes into play. Because that's something else I've seen. I've seen on servers either that weren't well maintained by regular people or by companies. EA, I'm looking at you. Right? One of the biggest ones that I saw was an absolute positive, definitely cheating going on here type scenario. Kind of like what this is going on here with the whole, I've got plenty of evidence, and you're telling me, nope, nothing to see here. No. But it was Battlefront 2, not the original Battlefront 2, the real one. I'm talking, no, correction, it was just the Battlefront. Again, not the original Battlefront, it was just the new remake, meh, garbage. So, playing on indoor, I remember this very, very distinctly. It was very important to me because that's how, the world came to an end, not really. But it was like, okay, seriously, EA, what are you doing? No kidding, I was inside a bunker, which is, giant concrete thing, which is also underground. If you've ever been on the indoor map, I can't remember what it was on, Conquest or Domain or something. Maybe it was on the AT Hunt, I can't remember. But whatever it was, doesn't really matter. I was inside of a bunker. I am underground. And I get killed by somebody clear across the map, not by a sniper rifle, not by a grenade launcher, rocket launcher, none of that. I get killed by orbital strike is what shows up on my screen. It says I was killed by an orbital strike. And just like the name implies, it means somebody from freaking outer space blew me up with a giant cannon. Yes, orbital strike is a thing in that game. If you ever play the game, yes, orbital strike works. But how do you stop yourself from getting killed? Well, one, you stay out of whatever radius is being fired in. They kind of give you this little indicator on the mini map. Hey, orbital strike's coming here. Sometimes, depending on. But one of the biggest things that you definitely know you won't be safe from an orbital strike is if you're indoors. Anywhere indoors, because they didn't have, Call of Duty's version of indoors, which is inside a giant cardboard box or plywood or whatever. Right? They actually, you're inside concrete, you were safe. So an orbital strike couldn't hit you. There was no way. Except this guy was killing everybody. Back to back to back to back, orbital strike, orbital strike. Didn't matter where they were, they just orbital strike. No. That's cheating. That was straight up cheating. And not only did I report it, we had several other members report it, and nothing happened. I continued playing. EA wasn't there then. No comments made, nothing. Just whatever. And now, granted, by that point, EA considered the game dead. They should have considered the game dead when it first came out because they can't make a freaking game in years. They haven't been able to make a good game in years. But that's beside the point, right? When you have people who don't moderate properly, you have people who don't give a darn, cheating not only occurs and doesn't get punished, but it becomes rampant. It becomes obvious. People just don't care anymore. In fact, what a lot of people do, and I've seen this before, I can't remember if it was that match or a similar match or something like that, when cheating was occurring by such and such a person. No kidding, another player, I didn't know who he was, never met him before, never saw him again. But anyhow, he no kidding said, all right, fine, I'm turning on my hacks now. Now, his goal was he was only going to use his hacks against that guy, drive him out of the match. And then he'd turn his hacks back off. But that's what basically happens. It's the same with the steroid use in sports, baseball and football and basketball and wherever else steroids are being used, is that, okay, first off, it's illegal. Legal to use steroids, except people are still doing it. They find all these sneaky ways to get around it. Well, this doesn't count as a steroid, blah, blah, blah. Well, basically what happens, you have this levels of elevation where everybody has to start cheating in order to keep everything on a level playing field. What sense does that make? There's actually a great line out of Batman Begins. End of the movie, Commissioner Gordon, or I guess he became Captain Gordon at that point because he was he was a Lieutenant Gordon, and then he made Captain at the end of the movie because he helped Batman out, blah, blah, blah. But anyhow, Captain Gordon is talking to Batman, and he talks about escalation. Batman's like, escalation? Or isn't called escalation, he calls it, deals with money, and it's driving me nuts now, I can't think of it. But same idea, where the cops will do this, so the criminals do this. And one of the ones I can't remember, I know he rattled off a couple of different things. But one of the ones I remember distinctly was, we get ballistic vests, they get armor-piercing rounds. And that's the thing, is that now that's a case of good guys versus bad guys. Good guys are always behind. Always. It just happens. We always seem to run behind because we want everything to be fair. We don't want to go overboard. Well, this is what happens when you do that. Especially when you don't go out and punish the people who are going out. So, for instance, armor-piercing rounds. Okay, criminals buying it. And I'm just using that as a simplistic reference. Right, for those of you guys who are Second Amendment advocates, totally not against you guys being Second Amendment advocates. Love guns. Couldn't do my job without them. But, anyhow, with the whole selling of armor-piercing rounds on the black market somewhere. Alright? What's the problem with that? A lot of people would say, because it's legal to buy armor-piercing rounds. First off, no, it ain't. It's not. In a lot of states, it ain't legal. But the problem is, okay, yes, they're doing something legal, but people aren't going out to find where these guys are getting their armor-piercing rounds from. Now, I know in the real world there's all this, and all these other things. But that should be the main goal. Right? When you find out bad guys are getting armor-piercing rounds, you don't try to find better armor. You go hunt down who the heck is selling these rounds. And then you find out who's supplying the guy who's selling the rounds. somewhere up the chain, you're going to find out where the supply chain starts, and you shut that down. And I'm not talking at the factory level, because normally when you get armor-piercing rounds, it's probably going to be from some military thing. Somebody's, stealing military ammunition and selling it on the street. That's what has to be done. You have to go at the source for these things. Well, the same goes back to this cheating scenario. When you have the Democrats cheating at the levels that they are, and at first, trust me, they've been cheating for years. This has been known for decades on the levels of cheating that they've done. Now, this has gone beyond what they've done normally. This is well beyond that now. Originally, it was just the voting for minors' names. All right, we're talking small children, people with pickaxes. We have the dead voting, people voting more than once. All right, that's all been tried before, all been done before. Nobody tried shutting it down. Nobody. There have been ways to clean this up, but every time anybody tries it, they pretend to try it. They say, well, let's do this. And immediately the shutdown is, you're a racist. One of the things is referred to as purging the voter rolls. Purging the voter rolls. Basically, the idea is you go in every X number of years, whether it be every year, every 4 years, every 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever. But you go in and you just, if somebody's been voting for X number of years, you wipe it out. And when you go in and re-register, it restarts the clock, cleans it all up. It's very simplistic, and one would think this makes sense. Why don't we do that? Well, because Democrats got in everybody's head that is a form of racism, because all it's going to do is wipe out all the blacks from the voter rolls. Oh, I'm sorry. You probably can't see. I'm blinking in disbelief underneath this mask. What? That makes no sense. Makes no sense whatsoever. How? I mean, you'd have to go in there and target every single person. How do you do that? No, you're just wiping it out. In fact, computers could do that easily. That's what, they expire. The driver's license expires depending on your state, some are 5 years, 10 years, whatever. When that thing expires, your voter registration should expire. Because guess what? When you go out and renew your driver's license, you're supposed to renew your voter registration at the same time anyhow. They ask you to do it. Hey, do you want to register to vote? Well, when you're signing this up, sure, I'll do that. This goes to the same people pretty much. So how is this difficult a concept? Well, it isn't a difficult concept. It's not. People are telling people, oh, it's racist. So not only is it not being implemented, it's not even being pushed as far as getting it written into a bill to go before legislature. It's just immediately shot down because, we don't want to be seen as racist. No, screw that noise. I don't care what people say you look like. Do it. Just go out there and do it. Stop being afraid of what everybody else thinks you're doing. Because if that's not what you're intending, then I don't give a flying hoot. Trust me on this. I mean, look at this. I like this stuff right here. Right, that's why I wear these shirts for these videos. I don't care what other people think when I say these things. I don't. Now, if they're saying, well, the reason they're kidding, this was about the whole freaking kneeling during football games. They're, kneeling against police brutality. That's what they're kneeling against. No, they're not. They're saying that's what they're doing it. But when somebody, pushed them on it, how do we fix it? There is no fixing this. It's just not. You just can't. Never be fixed. Well, that ain't a solution. Now, what are you really doing? Well, I mean, Kaepernick, whatever this knuckleheaded name was, he was just out there, probably to bring some popularity to himself. That's my the supposition there. Other people say he's trying to force some communist nonsense, but it was kind of hatred for the country, which I can't tolerate. If you don't like my country, get out of my country. But he wasn't shut down when he was doing something stupid. He wasn't. Now, people try to shut me down when I do things like this. Not to say anybody's tried to shut me down for wearing a particular shirt yet. I'm still waiting. I will wait. Because I've had it a few times. Every now and again, I'll be doing something I do all the time. Somebody will try calling me out on it, rights. I have First Amendment rights. You can't stop me. But anyhow, going back, people are too afraid of what somebody thinks of them to actually do the job that needs to be done. Don't be afraid. What are they going to do to you? Ooh, you won't win an election again because we'll make you look like a racist. If I know why you wrote the rules, the reason why, I don't care about the implications that people say this is why you're really... No. If I say, I am writing this, well, your Democrat opponent says, cool, didn't know he was a mind reader. I didn't know he knew me better than I knew me. Because I've seen that happen a lot. This is what you really meant. Especially when it comes to the whole racism thing. Well, your racism is so deeply embedded even you don't see it, but I do. What? That doesn't make any sense. That makes literally no sense. Okay, the whole point of being racist is it has to be voluntary. You have to be knowingly do it. Alright, now, again, not to say that racism is like synonymous with cheating here. You know, if we stop all this racist BS, then all the cheating will stop too, although it will certainly help. But these are the things that need to be done. Is you need to go after all the forms of cheating. Doesn't matter which one you go with. Right? So when you find out, oh, dead people are voting, do the whole voter registration roll purging stuff. Do that. Right? Duplicate ballots. My vote is all the ballots get thrown out now. You don't just keep one. Nope, all of them go. If you want to cheat, that's what happens. Now, you could try to do this little counter thing. Well, I'm going to force Trump to, Trump voters to, in this case. I'm going to have them vote a whole bunch of times. That way all theirs get nullified. Cool. Now all the votes are nullified. Eventually. That's what it's going to come down to. Because already we're having, it doesn't matter who votes because apparently the Democrats are going to win because we'll just keep adding to it. But something has to be done on that level. All right? There has to be a punishment for this happening. In fact, I would even go so far as to say if we can catch who's doing it. And that's the thing I would love for them to figure out who's doing this BS. But to hunt down, legally speaking, hunt down the people who are filling in these ballots illegally and then punishing them, putting them in prison. I don't know what the law would be that they're breaking, because, you have to bring them up on charges. I'm sure a lawyer out there, if you go into the comments here, you can put in your little lawyery comments. Well, that actually breaks this law. Cool. You're a smart person. I'm glad you put that in there. But whatever it is, I know there's a law out there that's breaking, because it's illegal to do that. So you do these things. And then when you find out that, for instance, the voting districts in Chicago or in Michigan, whatever city it was, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, whatever. But all those various locations, right, that we find this, like the voter thing, the whole kicking people out while the count happens. Nope. Sorry. All of those are invalidated now. You got to start all over. This vote, I can't tell if it's made legitimate or not. Throw it out. Instead of being afraid what's going to happen to us, make them afraid of what's going to happen to them. Because that's what's going to put, and it's a very important thing to remember. How do you enforce a law? How is law enforced? A lot of people would say, well, it's enforced by punishment. You have the cops go in, they, arrest people, which does work into it. But there's a deeper meaning to law enforcement, something beyond police officers and the FBI and whoever else. One word is what actually makes law enforcement work. And it's not punishment. It's not vengeance. I would say justice, but it's not justice either. Right? One word that has nothing to do with any of those words. It's called respect. If citizens respect the law, they will follow it. That's what the whole mask thing, not this mask, but the little, I'm going to try preventing COVID thing. Why are people not wearing that? Because they don't respect those rules. I certainly don't. I think they're stupid, so I ain't wearing one. So when you have people that don't want to respect whatever rules you make, they're not going to follow them. That's what makes criminals criminals. They don't respect the law. Now, if there's a lot of people not respecting a particular law, either A, you have a whole bunch of evil people, or B, it's a stupid law. And in this case right now, with the disrespect for how we vote, is the law dumb for how you vote? Answer is no. Not even slightly. So it must be there's a whole lot of people. And I'm not saying that the dead people were evil, because obviously they're dead. Or the other people are cheating for them. The duplicate ballots, I'm sure this is true, where people go out there and they'll grab somebody's name and just throw it into the pile a whole bunch of times. That guy wasn't even voting. He's, asleep in the back of his pickup or whatever. So it's one of those things where you have to go after the people who are cheating. Something needs to be done. I'm not talking at just the low levels. I mean all the way up the chain. Go all the way up. Who hired you? Who hired that person that hired you? Go all the way up. Get everybody in there. And yes, punish them because they decided to disrespect the law. It's very important to remember, they disrespected the law. And when they disrespect the law, they also disrespected the citizens. It's a very big thing for me. Very big, all right? I am all about law enforcement. I am all about doing the right thing. That's why, I'm not big on vengeance. I'm big on justice. I'm not big on needlessly causing harm to people. All right, for instance, one of the things I hate is mass punishment. It's a stupid thing. One person did something wrong, so you punish a whole group of people because one person did something wrong. No, that's not justice. That's basically vengeance. Don't do that. You go after that guy. Well, I don't know who it is, so I'll punish all of them in the hopes of getting the one. Well, the guy still escaped justice because he wasn't called out on it. Now you just made the other however many people hate whoever's enforcing the law as opposed to that guy. You need to direct their anger against the guy who broke the rules, not against the people trying to supposedly enforce them. So that's what needs to happen now. All right? One, we need to collect all the evidence, get it into court cases, and have people stop saying there's no evidence of cheating, because there darn well is. It's easily provable. Two, we need to go after those cheating, no matter what levels they're at. They need to be named. And I don't mean names like CNN likes to name, mass murders and whatnot. So-and-so murdered 60 people at a mall. No, I don't care what CNN or Fox News, if they ever name them. I want them named in the sense that they're like charged somewhere. Some police database somewhere, they're charged with crimes against the country for whatever it is. And then 3, they need to be punished. I don't care what I do care a little bit. I don't want you going outside the rules. I don't want you going under the rules either. All right? I don't know what the normal path is for that. Is it a fine? Is it a couple of years in prison? I could make it not a strong argument, but I could make the argument that it does fall in the lines of treason to do these things. So, you can go that route, which I think is still punishable by death, but I totally wouldn't go there for people cheating. At least not initially. There is that one thought process, I guess you could say, that if people are scared they're going to get killed for it, then they won't do it no more. But that's just excessive. No, that's a bad idea. But that's what needs to happen. Again, reiterate. I know you can just rewind, but I'll reiterate because that's what good people do. 1, do the justice for saying, yes, there really is crime occurred here. Do the research, do the investigation, all of that. Put it into court of law. 2, go after the people who cheated. 3, punish said people who cheated. And I don't care where in the levels they are. Whether they're the guy that carried the box in or the guy that told them to carry the box in with all the fake ballots in there. Every single one of them needs to be punished. Every single one. All right, just like video game guys, if they cheat, they get kicked out of the video game. card players way back in the days of the Wild Wild West where they get shot, unfortunately, for cheating at card games. Punishment was incurred. These guys are getting away scot-free. That shouldn't happen. If prison time is the only way to get them to stop, then let's do it.